Almost. Hold on. Okay, now I'm ready. All right. Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here at Motion Raceworks, and we got a new product for you. It's third gen wings. Third gen wings are here. We're gonna show you today how to install one of these badass new third gen wings on your third gen. So I'll cover all your basic components here real quick. We've got your spill plates. We've got 4 different wing struts. One has a notch, one doesn't, and then you have a left and a right for each. We've got standard hardware pack, additional third gen hardware pack. We've got Wickerbill adjuster, the Wickerbill itself, and we have the main deck to the wing. We'll move on to tools that you're gonna need. Standard rivet gun for 1/8 and 3/16 rivets. You're gonna want a ratchet or wrenches, 3/8 and 11/32. 2 Allen wrenches. We've got 3/32 and 1/8. And then you're gonna need 2 drill bits for the rivets. That would be your 3/16 and your 1/8 inch. For the wing strut through holes, you're gonna wanna get a 13/64 drill bit. And then a drill. And an angle finder. So the first thing you're gonna have to do to get started, you're gonna have to remove your old spoiler off your vehicle. Just that easy? No. And then, let's see, maybe we'll just pop all that off. So all the old spoiler, there's just a row of bolts from underneath that you can access through some plugs on the main deck. And then the side pieces of the spoiler, you'll have to remove the plastic from the inside, and then you can access all the nuts for that. So this wing, in comparison to some of our other ones, we send some rubber plugs with, and those are actually meant to go in the holes for the side of the spoiler here. The holes in the top deck you can fill if you like, but they actually go to the outside of the vehicle, so you don't really have to if you don't want to. Once you've got your spoiler removed from the vehicle, we're ready to start measuring to mark out where we want to put our wing struts. So we're going to start by laying out our wing struts here. I'll go over a little bit of detail on these first. So the way these are set up, the rivet holes will be towards the outside of the vehicle. And then you can see here, one has a notch and the other does not. So the outside does not have a notch. The inside does have the notch. The only thing that's different is the bend angles. They're just slightly different for outside and inside. Other side is just mirrored of that. Basically, we'll just lay them out in order here, and then use your tape measure, and we'll lay out the spacing that we want. That's kind of up to you, because there's no holes in the wing deck. You're gonna drill those on your own. So my recommendation would be to keep the outside ones as far to the outside as you can. That gives your spill plate more, better support. So I'll place the outside 2 first, and then we'll just measure equal spacing for the inner ones. Should I talk about the tape? Yeah. So this is a good time if your car is nicer than mine. I would use some blue painter's tape and just tape the areas that we're gonna be drilling holes, just so that way you don't accidentally take any more paint than necessary off. And then that also allows you to write measurements, mark out your spacing, all that good stuff. So tape it up if you care to do so. Let's start measuring out for those struts. I'm gonna start placing the first outer wing strut. Couple suggestions on doing these. This one I'm gonna place as far to the outside as I can without overlapping with this factory hole. And then my suggestion is to shoot between being level and probably up to maybe 2 degrees. I'm gonna probably set this at 1 degree up. So with the car setting on the ground at your ride height, probably anywhere from 0 to 2 degrees. So we'll just set the angle finder on there, get our degree that we want, and then I'm gonna mark these holes. All right, so now we're gonna drill some holes and rivet on our first strut. So we're gonna drill our hole for the 3/16 rivet, which you can use, the spec is for a number 11 drill bit, but you can get by with a 3/16 if you don't have a number 11. So here we go. Yeah. So should I tell them to be careful maybe? So when you're drilling through the trunk lid here, Keep in mind there's like a few layers that are laminated, so you're gonna wanna get through all of them. So that way your rivet goes in there nice. I drilled the very top hole, and I'm gonna go ahead and rivet it in place in that hole. And that way I can use the holes in the bracket to guide the drilling for the rest of the operation. Real fancy. So now's a good chance to recheck your level and kind of square it up, so you'll be able to move it at this point or tweak whatever you need to. But I like to have them all pretty well straight in line with the center line of the car. Or then we'll go ahead and drill the rest of the holes. So at this point I've got 2 in, and then I'll just drill the other 2, rivet those in place, and then we're gonna move on to the left strut. Mark it about 1. Dang. The one hole I wanted to mark my fingers on. Got it. Oh, that one went right there. Oh yeah. All right. Would you just look at it?
Look at it.
Just look at that. Would you look at that? So now that we have our 2 outer wing struts installed, we're gonna go ahead and measure the length between the mounting holes, and we're gonna divide that by 3, which will give us our spacing for each of the inner wing struts. So we'll go ahead and measure that. So we ended up about 48 3/4 on our setup. Yours might vary a little bit depending on your outer wing strut width. 0.75 divided by 3. So that gives us a spacing of 16 1/4 for our inner wing struts. So then we can measure from this edge on each of these wing struts, and we'll make a mark on the car right about there. And we'll do the same on the other side. If you've measured correctly, you should be able to measure between your 2 marks and get the same value. Yeah, we're pretty close, so we'll go ahead with that. Now when we place our inner wing struts, we'll find our mark here. We'll actually line that up with this hole pattern and this edge. So that'll give us our placement. We'll go ahead and put the angle finder on and go for that same roughly 1 degree, and repeat the process on both of our inner wing struts. Recheck our angle. Same 0.8. We're doing pretty good. All right. That ain't going nowhere. She going. We're going to do a quick check before we put the wing deck on and start drilling holes in that. We're just going to use something long and fairly straight, and we'll set it across there. We just want to try to get the gap equal on both sides. So you can see here and here we have our gap. So you can kind of tweak these just a little bit. You can put a level on there too, or if you have a large level, you can use that. But just as long as they're in the ballpark, that's our main concern here. So yeah, we're pretty close there. We're gonna call that good. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and fit up the wing deck on here. So pretty much all I'm gonna do to do that is I'm gonna set it on our wing struts, and then really our only adjustment is fore and aft. The way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna measure from this corner back and then just set it equal on both sides, and then just position it side to side. Side to side is pretty easy because we have these notches here. So those notches, you'll be able to just make sure those are even side to side, and then just measure it front to back. So we're just gonna measure these out, and for reference, this one we're gonna set at 9¼ inches from the front corner back. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark both sides here. Once that's marked, we can just slide it up to our lines. That's pretty much our placement there. Kind of feel it side to side, get the side to side placement. All right, so before we drill any holes in our wing deck, now is probably a good time to take a step back, make sure all your wing struts are nice and square. So when someone sees the car from the back, they're not crooked. So and if they're not square, they're pretty easy to tweak before you bolt them down. So yeah, if we have one to tweak, it's pretty easy just to flex them right where you need them to be. So they all look pretty good though. So we're gonna drill some holes in this thing. So the easiest way I've found to do this is get your mark from underneath. We're gonna mark all 4 rear holes in the wing struts, and then we'll take the wing deck back off and drill it upside down using those marks. Once those are bolted, then we'll put it back on, bolt it in place, and drill all the other holes up from the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and get our first 4 marked. Yeah, and if you're real careful, you can actually mark all 12. It's way easier to drill the holes with the wing upside down than trying to drill them up from the bottom. But if you're afraid you're gonna screw it up, the safe bet is to mark the back 4, bolt it down, drill the rest on the vehicle. We've got all of our holes marked on the underside, so we've got it flipped over on this trash can. You obviously don't want to scratch the top side, so find something somewhat soft or whatever to flip it over onto. And we're gonna go ahead and drill the rear 4 first, and then if those look like they're good, I think I'm just gonna drill all 12 of them right here, and then bolt the sucker on. Trash and drill, my favorite kind of drilling.
I'm gonna leave that song in there.
Yeah, trash can drilling. Now that we have our first 4 holes drilled, pretty much just laid it back on here. We're still lined up with our marks, both sides, and all 4 holes seem like they're lining up. So I'm gonna take this thing off and I'm gonna drill the rest of them, which will make this super easy to install so we don't have to drill anything upside down. She's looking real good. I can see through all the holes, so that's a good sign. All right, so at this point we have all of our holes drilled for the wing struts. We're gonna go ahead and bolt all those in place, and then we'll come back and we'll drill our rivet holes into the deck here, and then we'll run a whole row of rivets there. For this, we're gonna use the larger 1032 hardware in our hardware pack. The smaller 832 hardware is for the Wickerbill. She's a beaut. All right, so we got our wing deck. Our main wing deck bolts are all installed, all 12, it's bolted down. So the next step is gonna be to rivet the front edge. So that is gonna require drilling holes for the 1/8 inch rivets. Have our 1/8 inch rivets. We'll drill holes into the deck lid, and we'll go ahead and rivet this guy down. Okay, this part's really the most riveting. No. So we just went ahead and drilled all 15 holes. We're gonna go ahead, I'll just start in the middle and rivet my way out. Yeah, and then your corner one likely has a little gap here, so you're gonna just wanna hold down on it when you're riveting. Make sure it stays in place. Just that easy. I dig it. All right, now that we've got our wing riveted down to the deck lid, we're gonna install the Wickerbill adjuster. And this, you simply just use your other 15 1/8" rivets and rivet it right to the wing deck. So go ahead and get this riveted on. I like to just start in the middle and then just try to get the face here about flush with the back of the wing deck and start riveting it on. Just jamming. She's on. Done riveting. Now that you have the Wickerbill adjuster riveted in place, we're going to bolt the Wickerbill in place. So this will use your smaller 832 hardware bolts and nuts that you have left. So we'll go ahead and get this guy bolted on. That was very difficult to do from that angle. For this installation, I'm gonna start with it right in the middle, and if I decide to change it later, we can. So before we put the spill plates on, the supplied rubber grommets that we have here, so those will go in these. There's 3 holes. There's one actually up on top here too, but those will go in there, and that will give the spill plate something to rest on to avoid scratching your paint or anything on the side here. So we'll get those put in and then we'll put the spill plate on. So the Wickerbill's on and adjusted, and last step is installing your spill plates. So that is just 3 more 1032 bolts on each side, and we'll be all finished up. So we'll go ahead and get all 3 bolts started and pretty close to snugged up. And then it does have roughly 1 inch of fore and aft adjustment to it. So we can get it positioned just where we want it once we're closer to being tight. As I was saying, these have about 1 inch of adjustment fore and aft. Oh.
Really?
You're good. So as I was saying, with the spill plates, you have about 1 inch of adjustment fore and aft. So on this, it doesn't look like there's any advantage either way or the other. So I'm just gonna put these all the way to the back, and we're gonna tighten them down there. All right, so that's the last step of the install. One other thing that's worth noting is, so we've designed this to fit fairly tight to the body here, which you have to remember the wing is actually attached to the trunk, so that will open and close. So if you want more space here, it's actually pretty easy. Just give it a pull on there, and you can tweak this thing pretty easily. So just give it just a little bit of bend if you're not comfortable with the amount of space that's there, and that'll give you a little bit more space. So other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed the install video. I hope this was helpful for you. And most of all, I hope you enjoy your new 3rd gen drag wing.